Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 12 Monkeys podcast. And yes, we are forging ahead. And I have with me my regular cohorts. And up first, I'll say hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Great.
Tired, but good.
Okay. And Jesse, how are you?
I am good. I am looking forward to talk about these three episodes. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly.
Oh, okay, nice. And before we get into the three episodes, I'm just going to ask you off the top, but just because you mentioned in the first episode that you're a big fan of Amanda Schull from her, what is it, those Harlequin movies
Yeah,
or
Hallmark Channel
Hallmark,
movies.
Hallmark,
Yes,
sorry, Hallmark Channel movies, and
yes.
you were hoping to see if this series was going to afford her the ability to have a broader range of acting skills. And I'm wondering how you're finding that so far.
So 4 episodes in, I think it is. There are scenes when she just has a lot of chemistry with whatever male lead she's dealing with. And I
Mhm.
think that's part of me just used to seeing her interacting with different male leads, but I think she is very good. I am liking her and I'm having mixed emotions about Cole as our
Mhm.
lead.
Okay,
I'm
which
not
we,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So we're talking about episodes 2, 3, and 4. So that would be Mentally Divergent, which is the episode where we get the introduction of the daughter of Boynes from the first episode, Jennifer, and she's an interesting character. Episode 3 is the Cassandra Complex, which is goes back to 2014, and Haiti, which I really like that episode, and we'll get into that why down the road. And it also has an element where I'm sure Jesse has his issues with Cole. And then we have Atari, which is one of the first episodes where things get a little timey-wimey for the first time. And I thought it handled well, but we'll get into that. Just from the high-level view of the series, I do think our approach is the right one to take because there's not quite enough meat on the bone to get into deep philosophical questions with each episode. But I do have to say that 4 episodes in, and I do believe the show is doing a really good job of moving the storyline ahead. It's raising questions and answering them, and it's introducing all these new elements. Quite a few new characters have been introduced. Probably the biggest ones are the Jennifer and the Army of the 12 Monkeys. I don't know if the lead guy's got a name or not, the tall, thin guy, but he's an interesting character. And yeah, I've generally been happy with the how the show's been progressing. I do like how they have a nice little hook at each end of the episode that kind of makes you okay. It's not they can't believe they're ending there, but oh, that's interesting. I want to see how they play that out in the next episode. So that's where I'm sitting after 4 episodes in. How are you feeling about it, Karen?
Yeah, I feel like the pace is really good. It's not dragging, but it doesn't feel too overly fast. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciated that. I also like that these three episodes were completely different from each other. And I feel like that's a nice way to weave a story together, but also tell different parts of it at the same time. To have these three in a row, and I haven't watched ahead, so I'm not sure if that continues to be the case, but I appreciated it. And I have to say, I really enjoyed Emily Hampshire in this. Her portrayal of Jennifer is 180 degrees from her Stevie Budd on Schitt's Creek, just completely different,
Mm,
and it's refreshing to see.
cool. Jesse.
One of these things I think Karen mentioned this last time is there are shows you can play solitaire
Mm-hmm.
or Tetris or something while you're watching, and there's shows you can't. I can't with this. I had to go back, and when I watched the end of Cassandra Complex, I had I was confused at the end,
Mm.
and so I had to go back and watch the first like 5, 10 minutes and went, everything clicked in place and I didn't have to watch the rest of the episode all over it. I have questions and I don't know. I did not go to Wikipedia because I was worried I would be spoiled on things.
Okay.
But overall, I like this series. I don't love it. It I am not captivated by the R like the 2015 storyline nor necessarily the 2024, whenever the future is.
47.
I'm
43.
not. Yeah, I'm not in love with either storylines yet, and so I'm along for the ride.
Okay, interesting. I think the best way to approach these is to go through the character arcs. And let's start with Cassandra. In the second episode, I was a little taken back about how all in she was in dropping her former life and her boyfriend and everything and just going into this whole pandemic storyline. And then the third episode came along, the Cassandra Complex, and then we see what she goes through in Haiti. And that really worked for me. That really answered to me why she was so obsessed with helping Cole out in his quest. So I thought that was a really strong 1-2 punch for the series. And if they continue to set things up like this and answer them in this manner, I think we'll really grow to like all these characters. And I do the dynamics there with her and Cole. Jesse, how did you feel? Were you having similar issues with Cassandra and how she had jumped into the Cole storyline so easily? Or
yes, I did think that. Boy, she's real fast, and that was part of the problem with the Cassandra Complex. Is I had kind of missed that the purpose of the splinter, right? Mm-hmm. And then when okay, that's right. They had mentioned she can't see him, and she knows just enough that there is going to be this worldwide pandemic. And so she immediately jumps to the worst possible conclusion. And if she had been right, everything she said was spot on, but she was wrong. And I thought that was a great ending where he goes, it was just blank. It was just a variant. We didn't catch it. Antibiotics are already on the way, or vaccines are on the way. Everything's going to be fine. And you could have started basically, if we had followed your path, this would have been a mess. Go take care of yourself. Go get your head on straight. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a really interesting complex of when is the right time to panic. Mm-hmm. And when is the right time to let things go? I think I've shared this story on this podcast, but if not, it's appropriate. And if I have, please skip ahead a couple of minutes. But I had started a new job. I was at my office on like end of February 2020, beginning of March 2020. And someone came to my desk and said, I'm really worried about this virus that's going around. And I said, oh, it's going to be fine. This always happens. People always talk about how bad things are going to be. And then it ends up being not that big of a deal. So we're going to watch it. We're okay. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, the whole world is shut down. Mm-hmm. And I was like, play the Price is Right or Make a Deal sign where I picked it. So, yeah. Or yeah. I really liked that storyline and how it's doing it. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but right, this guy was supposed to have died, right? Yes. He died going to get that medicine. And if because of him, Cole being involved in getting the information, he had to kill him to write the timeline. And that seems to be wrong, yet it's right. We don't know the rules well enough. And I thought I love that he lied to her and she accepted the lie. I think I agree with you. Of these ones that we've seen the best, Cassandra Complex was the best one of these three we watched. Did I answer your question or did I ramble too much? Okay.
Yeah, no, that's it. Karen?
What was the question?
How the show answered the question that I had of why
she bought into it.
Yeah, why she dropped her old life for this new quest.
I had bought into her buying into it because he disappeared. But I think the Cassandra Complex episode 3 solidified that she sees there are stakes and she already knows that this guy is telling me the truth. It's like doubly pressing on her that she needs to do something about it. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was cool to see her go to Haiti, and because that would be something that she would do normally, I would assume, as a virologist. But to her, it's also she's trying to catch the start of whatever this is to stop it from happening, because I think in her mind, she thinks if I stop it, then we don't have to worry about all this other stuff. But we know from watching time travel shows, it's not going to be that easy. She's not going to go and stop it and everything's all right with the world. So we knew that there was something going on there. And I took Cole murdering Henri to be that he can't let Henri go after telling him all this stuff, because then if he gets interrogated or whatever, he'll tell them stuff that he shouldn't tell them. And I think that was my thought about that.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah. And I appreciate why Cole did not tell her, because she already had a scenario in her head. She was already told one thing. She believed it fine. And yeah, she was hurt by it, but he would never get her to trust him again if he told her the truth. He needs her to trust him.
Yeah.
So I took that's what that meant. But I do think that Cassandra, I don't think she's gullible for buying into all of this. I think that she saw him disappear, and that solidified in her mind that he's telling her the truth, that there really is this virus. She can't let it go because that's her job, to stop viruses from becoming pandemics. And then in that next episode where she sees all this other stuff and Henri, and so everything is really just cementing in her mind that she needs to buy into all this. So
yeah, I do like that you've already brought up the Cole issue with killing Henri, because obviously the next character we're going to talk about is Cole. And I think that the things that we've learned about him, especially in the 4th episode, Atari, is that Cole is above all is a survivor, and he lacks a moral compass. And he even remarks on the fact to Ramse, who's played by Kirk Acevedo. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, who I know better from Fringe, but he's just a great character actor. And I just really liked his Ramse character. He's a very pragmatic character, but has a moral code that Cole, interestingly enough, does not share. And I'm hoping, because my big question right now is, why is Cole just so focused on just surviving? What happened in his childhood that made him that way? And I don't know if the series is going to answer that, but I'm hoping because of the way that they handled Cassandra, that we're going to find out that answer, which will make Cole a more relatable character. And I also think it's very important that they showed us that scene with Henri and Cole shooting him for two things. It sets up that whole time travel issue about when you go back to change the past, are your actions the very things that caused the past to happen in the first place? So there's that issue. And then the other issue is that we see Cole in this episode, and I believe it was in Atari, that he shoots that person that's running away in the back as well. That the deeper he gets into this mission and the more he hangs around Cassandra, how is that going to change him? And is he going to come to a point somewhere in the series where he's going to be faced with a similar situation, but now the needs of the one are going to outweigh the needs of the many for him? So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch going forward in the show. And I'm very interested to see where Cole goes. I think his backstory has yet to be fleshed out for us enough to decide what we think of the characters. Jesse, I know you're really ambivalent on Cole. What are your thoughts on that? And what other things about him are you concerned about or interested in?
I have not bought Cole as our hero yet. I understand he's been cast as the hero, and I don't know if this show is about his journey as a character more than it is about saving the world. I don't know that yet. But I do not feel and this has gone past his grimy haircut that I don't like, is I don't know yet. He just stumbled into this, right? He doesn't have a burning desire to fix things versus this gets him and his friend safety and running water and clean food and all the things we talk about in Atari. I echo the idea. His friend
Ramse
seems to be the more moral compass.
Yep.
Like when they have the debate, we did these things too. Yeah, only when we had to. And the whole, that's why I said I wasn't sure. I liked that episode that was mostly in time, modern time, and they did a few little timey-wimey things. But I've not bought into Cole is on a hero's journey. And I do not particularly like him right now. I'm not pulling for him. I'm absolutely pulling for Cassandra, not only just because I love Amanda Scholl, but I feel like Cassandra she's had her road to Damascus moment. She has had that. She is now on this journey. I am going to, whatever it takes, to stop this happening because I'm a healer and I'm a doctor. And so I want to, first thing, do no harm. And so whatever I can do to fix this, I'm going to. I don't get where his motivation is and what he wants to do.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed. There were parts of this is lighthearted, parts of these 3 episodes where he wasn't all dirty and grimy. And I appreciated that. I do think he is lacking in his morality. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that in order to survive and to help Ramse survive, this is his mission. And he's going to complete those missions as much as he can in order to keep them in food and water and electricity and shelter and all that. We saw that in Atari, in that episode, that he did that on a smaller scale with Deacon, that let's join their camp and we'll get all these good things and we'll survive because Deacon is willing to help us with that. And then he sees this better opportunity, and that's where they go. And it just so happens that in order to do that, he ends up saving Ramse at the last minute instead of killing him, which he was prepared to do, I think. I don't think there was anything really stopping him, except for when Ramse and he were talking, and Ramse's, go ahead if you're going to do it. And I think part of him just couldn't pull the trigger, although we have seen him already pull the trigger on people that truly didn't deserve it. I see where his character is, that he is surviving. I do think that Ramse also wants to survive, but he doesn't want to do it at the expense of his soul. And I would prefer Ramse to be the hero in this story instead of Cole. But I guess I get why they did it that way. But I would prefer that someone with that moral compass. I'm saving all these people. I want to be a hero. But Cole doesn't have that at all.
Which, if the story turns out to be, and I do trust this showrunner, the writer, especially how well Picard season 3 went, that maybe because I haven't seen anything, maybe I'm missing the fact that this ended up being a hero's journey. Though, for those of you behind the scenes, this is the second podcast we've recorded today. And I made a joke. I did not make a Springsteen last time, but this time I am. There is a wonderful song from Bruce called Devils and Dust. And part of the lyrics is, I've got God on my side and I'm just trying to survive. What if what you do to survive kills the things you love? Fear is a powerful thing, baby. It can turn your heart black. You can trust. It'll take your God-filled soul and fill it with devils and dust.
Why didn't you use that reference in the last? Because we talked about dust.
Yeah, it is. But I think this is perfect, right? Cole is what's my best option and what's who I attach to, who I need. And so, like I said, I haven't bought into him yet, but I'm intrigued enough with the show to keep watching, and not just because we're talking about it. If this was independent, I would have said, okay, yeah, let me keep going.
Yeah. My guess with Cole is that he has really shut down certain parts of his emotions and empathy in order to survive. Because if he feels everything, then it's just going to overpower him. I have no proof for that, but I'm just going based on other stories that I've read where that's happened. And I can think particularly of the Dark Tower with Roland, who comes across as very much as a dirty, hairy man with no name character at the beginning of the series. But as he gathers up these additional people, this group, which he in the Dark Tower world, he calls a quartet, he learns to feel again. And we find out why he became the way he did through backstory. And I'm hoping that the same thing is going to happen with Cole in this series. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I can understand the reluctance on several levels for embracing the character. And we discussed one of them from a superficial level in the first episode. And the second one is more to do with his character arc to this point in the story. But like you, I'm intrigued enough to continue. And I do like the writing. I do think that the way the episodes are structured has that nice little hook, as I mentioned before, that wants you to watch the next episode. And I'm enjoying the acting quite a bit. Some of the supporting characters, like the head scientist, Katerina, I just love the way she says her name. She's an intriguing character. And I'm wondering what her backstory is that got her into this position where she's obsessed with trying to correct this timeline as well. So that character is interesting for me. And
so just interject, right?
Sure.
Like, one of the things that surprised me and amused both of you is, and I'm going to get that on, Grace from Farscape's Journey.
Yeah.
That I picked up possibilities, and then sure enough, they paid off. This guy did go on a journey. And so if after the fact, and people who have listened to 12 Monkeys might be going, boy, Jesse's got it totally wrong, or Jesse has it totally right. But if we end up seeing that this is a lot about Cole's turning into a better person, that will add some added depth to the series, more than just I know a lot of people unhappy with Walking Dead and went there, but Negan's story, partly because the actor playing him is amazing, but that seeing him go from being the worst of the worst to trying to become a better person for those last seasons was one of my favorite parts of the series.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yep, for sure. For the rest of the episode, I'm not going to go character by character because there's too many, but I'm just, like I mentioned, Barbara Sakawa, who plays Katerina Jones. I love her character. I don't know where she gets her cigarettes from.
Right?
This is 30 years in the future. Do they still make cigarettes? I don't know. But
does she roll them herself or what?
It's an interesting visual. We mentioned the actor that played Jennifer. I don't know her name. I think she does Crazy really well.
Her name, Emily Hampshire.
She does Crazy real well. I think she's fantastic. I'm much more familiar with Kirk Azevedo from Fringe, and I think he's great.
So to interject, and how great was it seeing Deacon?
Yeah.
Because the whole purpose we led to this is Picard season 3, and Todd Stashwick was one of the highlights of that. Captain Shaw was such a great character because he was an antagonist, but at the same time on their side, he was really had a lot of depth. So seeing that character this time, I was like, oh, look, he's part of that trope of actors that we have talked about that we love.
Yeah,
sometimes.
He's in the stable of this guy.
Yeah. And so just like John Ford and others had. So I just loved his role, even though Deacon was very much a quote unquote villain in this.
Yeah.
I like that you brought up Negan because that's who he reminded me of.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's a great bad guy. I look forward to seeing what he's going to do in the rest of the series. And yeah, it's just a blast to see him in an earlier role. He's a tall dude, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah, I think he's great. There's a new character, the military guy. I don't know his name. Is that him? Is that Whitley? I think it might be Whitley.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he looks like he's going to be around for a while as well. Maybe it's Adam Bogan as Keller. I don't have the character names right, but he hasn't stood out as much. His role's a little more two-dimensional at this point. But I just think there's a lot of really cool characters. And of course, you've got the tall, thin dude from the Army of 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, they call him the Pallid Man.
The Pallid Man.
That's the only name he. And the actor Tom Noonan, he was amazing in The Blacklist as the stew maker. I don't know if you guys watched that.
Yeah. He kind of reminds me of the Pale Man from the Phantasm movies, if you're familiar with those. So he's got a good look about him, and he's an interesting, and he seems to be really strong. Like he's an older looking guy, but he's able to like overpower Cole, which is
about a tall guy though.
Yeah.
He is super tall.
Yeah. So I'm just at this stage, I'm just going to throw it open to you guys to talk about anything that you want to about these 3 episodes and any specific scenes or characters that you really, who wants to go first?
Me.
Okay, Jesse, go for it.
All right. Did I miss how did they invent this technology of time travel?
They haven't said yet.
Why do they keep saying that they only have enough power to do this?
That's an interesting question that I'm sure will be answered in the future, but it's a convenient storytelling device at this point, isn't it?
And they use the word yet.
Yeah.
So they must be building up, and then they use it, and then they have to build up again.
And how accurate can they be in what they're doing? I don't think they haven't built enough of, because of using past information, we can determine where we should pinpoint where we send you. I assume that's what they're doing, but that's not clear to me yet.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix of high and low tech because they rely heavily on these murder boards with the strings. And it's a good visual for the viewing audience to see all these reminders of things from past episodes. But the technology of the machine is a little nebulous at this point. It seems to work in specific ways they want it to in order to support a storyline. And the last episode, he only jumped back 2 days or 3 days or something like that. The only really thing that we know is that, because in that episode I thought, how did they find out about the tunnels? But as soon as he only jumped back 2 days, I said, okay, now I know how they found out about the tunnels. So that was pretty cool. But then you were worried about him getting too close to himself because we saw what happened with the watches. It's the time travel stuff is still nebulous on purpose, and it's going to be, to me, like the Deus Ex Machina in each episode, depending on
literally.
On what they need to happen in the episode. The machine will be in some way changed to support that. It'll be interesting to see. And like, where are they getting all this power from? Because this looks pretty pretty power hungry. So lots of questions about the technology that we still need to know. And I do the fact that they can't
go ahead.
That they can't exactly pinpoint down to the second location where they want him to show up, which I think adds a nice element of uncertainty to every time he jumps. You don't know exactly when and where he's going to show up.
Yeah, and I get that. That makes a lot of sense. And you have of course, being a Doctor Who fan, right? The TARDIS takes you where you need to go, not necessarily where you wanted to go.
Right.
And you have that, I can't, quantum leap, right? You're jumping in just random places. So I think if you had a machine that gave you absolutely specifics and you could get it to exactly where you needed to be, it makes for a different set of problems you have to write to. So I like the idea they chose. But I'm going to go back to discussions we had early as we were going through Babylon 5. I don't think they've shown us the rules very well. They haven't set this universe and their version of time travel rules. And what I don't know Is that a creative choice because there's something down the road they're going to explain to us later? Or are they leaving it vague so that the sonic screwdriver can do whatever you need it to do based on plot needs?
I suspect it's more of the latter.
Yeah.
It gives them wiggle room.
Yeah.
You stole my point, Jesse.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. I'm wondering if the machine that they're using is more of a sentient thing.
Okay.
Guardian forever.
Yeah, because it did send him back conveniently in order to make that happen, in order to save his friend, in order to reveal the tunnels. So it was convenient, but was it convenient, or was it that the machine knows what to do with that?
Or is there some unseen force, like with which was a premise behind Quantum Leap, that there was like a force for good that was directing Sam Beckett where to actually go, as opposed to where they thought they wanted him to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's my thought on it so far, is that the machine because they sent him back to North Korea as well, 2009, far away from where he was supposed to be, in order for him to drop that note so that Cassandra would have it, and blah, blah, blah. And also, slightly off topic, is one of the things time travel, and this is me trying to be too smart for my own good.
Impossible.
No, it's possible. Wait till you hear. There's an issue with time travel where not only do you have to go back to a certain time and place, the Earth isn't in the same place anymore.
Right.
You're not just sending someone back to a spot that you already know. The Earth is turning, it's moving around the sun, it's rotating, there's all kinds of things. And that's what makes me think that in order to truly time travel, it has to be a construct of, we go somewhere and it makes time different for the two people, which isn't really time travel. It makes that kind of feeling. Or this kind of thing where whatever it is that's causing the time travel is doing it from an otherworldly kind of way, that there's something propelling it. You might need the machine.
Nope. Now everybody's frozen.
Something. Yeah, that's always something that's in my mind, is that the whole Earth moving thing.
Yeah, that's why the math is so complex. And considering they've got this jury-rigged system based on parts from the past, and these people are not, how educated are they? Like, it's funny to see them all sitting around in lab coats like that. Like, where are you guys getting all this stuff from 30 years in the future? But I think.
And why would they need a lab coat?
Yeah, exactly. So I enjoy your speculation on that. I personally hope it's not that ethereal or ephemeral. I hope it's just more a tech-based thing than myself, but we'll see. You could still have that interleaving of the technology with some sort of guiding hand of fate or destiny, as like in the Dark Tower series, they call it Ka, which means destiny. So it's an interesting element of the series that I do want to see how they start to put a real set of boundaries around that. Like Jesse said, for now, I'm content to go with the flow because we're only 4 episodes in, but if there's something majorly contradictory that happens down the line, that's going to be a big problem. But based on what I've heard, the word on the street is this is one of the best written time travel series that was done. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable that they're not going to paint themselves into a hole or a corner that they couldn't get out of, but we'll have to see. Yeah, the machine is a character in its own in this series, so that's also interesting. Plus the fact that only certain people can time travel, which is also interesting. Like, what is it about Cole that makes him special?
Okay, well, there's one
else?
thing that they get this message from Cassie and she says his name.
Right.
So I'm assuming that's part of it. That they figure that his destiny is to do this.
Yeah. Quantum entanglement.
Exactly right.
Spooky at a distance. Whatever.
Yeah, that's part of it. But they really make a point to say Ramse's not allowed in that room. The board that debates on where to send him next, which I think it's so weird to see a corporate structure after society has fallen apart.
Yeah.
I do think that's a cool thing, right? That
Yeah.
we're going and when our I also think, and I guess maybe I'm used to the Dr. Beckett theorized we could travel on our own timeline, right? And so this is not your own timeline and what you're doing. I am curious about that. I am glad that I am not alone in that. I was thinking, did I miss something? So I'm glad that this is specifically vague. And I do we talked about it. I like the villains that we've got set up, though I don't understand why they would be against stopping a pandemic.
They don't know that yet.
I don't know. So I haven't. Did either of you watch Travelers?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't. My husband did, but I didn't.
My brother was just loved that series, loved. And I tried once, one episode, and just didn't get it, didn't care for it much. And then he got sick, and I went, okay, here's something. I can't help him fight cancer. I can't help him, but I know he loved the series. And so I watched it and ended up adoring it, understanding why he loved it so much. And the premise is they send people back in time at the moment they're going to die.
Mm.
And then you take over their body and you have all your current memories and you don't have their previous memories. You're you in their body. And so that leads to a lot of different things. But in the future where they're coming from, there are people that they have a good debate that you think you're going to fix this, but it's actually going to make it worse. And so that's the two factions of by interfering, you're going to make things worse. The other ones goes, no, by interfering, we're going to make things better. And that's where I haven't gotten this yet, where what is the purpose of this army of 12 monkeys?
They might. My understanding is right now is that they're responsible for the plague. So
yeah.
So why they wanted to do that? Because they thought the world as it was doomed for apocalypse or whatever. So they wanted to rebuild the world in their image. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And was Jennifer behind it, or was her father behind it?
Yeah.
And I do like that scene where she's talking about the 12 monkeys. And we already know off the bat why it's called 12 monkeys, right? That she allowed these, as she says, 6 and 6 monkeys. She let them out of their cages, and then they ended up dying because of her. And I think that's part of what set her on her cuckoo train.
Okay.
So, yeah, and they were safe in the cages being experimented on, but she lets them out to be free, and then they end up dying. So it makes me wonder, is it just that she's already started down this crazy train path? And she is like a cult leader where she gets people to be on her side and let's start this whole thing. Or is she aiming it at someone, or the plague is what I'm talking about. Yeah. So it's lots of different things.
And one of the reasons why I'm glad we're doing this, one is it gives us another fun thing to talk about. Two, I'm intrigued enough to say, and because people have talked about how good this is, I'm like, I would think it will be interesting to see, do they answer these questions, or do they, in a satisfying way that you go, wow, that was good. Similar to Station 11, right? Like I was 2/3 through it going, I don't get why people like this thing. And then by the time they'd ended, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy. And when I watched it the second and third time, I was thrilled because I knew what was going on.
Yeah. The thing I'm really curious about with the show going forward, is Cole going to be the only one that is able to use the splinter machine, or will somebody else be able to use it? Because if that happens, that will make things much more complicated. And I'm guessing that they're going to be very stringent about how many people end up being able to use the machine. And otherwise, it would be crazy town.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. And I want to put in my carrot spin on things.
Okay.
As our listeners know, and you guys know, I'm having eye candy Cole is not my eye candy.
Okay.
I think Cassie is.
Yeah, definitely.
Aaron, who is her ex.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Henri, yes.
Yeah.
Hello,
Too bad he's
sir.
gone. At least for
Yeah,
now.
I know, but hello.
Yeah.
And Max, who we didn't really talk about, who now is on their side. She's hot. I could dig on her too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just from and of course, the pallid man. I'm all into that.
Yeah.
What about Mr. Stashwick?
No, thank you.
No?
A
little too crazy in the eyes, or
little bit. Yeah. As a backup.
Okay.
okay. Well, that's it. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add.
No, like I said, I'm in. So far, this is more. I'm doing it on faith.
Yep.
But it isn't like it's a chore, which sometimes early Doctor Who episodes that we're doing, I'm watching this because I have to.
Yeah.
This is not that case in this case at all.
Yeah, it always reminds me of Farscape. Like, how far into the first season did we have to go before that one really clicked? And that was like episode 19, I think, or something like that, in the first season. And then when it started to get more serialized, then it was like, okay, well,
I'm all in.
I'm waiting for that to happen here.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a specific point in the series where that's going to happen or not. I don't want to spoil it. When it happens, but I do hope it happens sometime in the first season that we get that. Oh, okay, now I'm in this for the duration moment. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Anyhow, that's it, folks, for this segment of the 12 Monkeys. The next one we'll be back with, do we want to do 4 episodes again, or?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be back with episodes 5 through 8. That will be The Night Room, The Red Forest, The Keys, and Yesterday. So that will be another good swath of episodes for us to talk about. But until then, and until that episode comes down the road in the future, Jesse, where can people find you?
You can find me at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. I hope you're checking out our discussion of Babylon 5 and Last Best Hope for Conversation on this very feed, and would love to hear what you guys are thinking about this.
Cool.
Karen?
Yeah, I agree.
And where can people find you?
Oh, I'm at Oliveria on various social media sites, and you can go to alistuff.com, and on the landing page there is a page of all kinds of links for you.
Very cool. And of course, you can find this podcast on YouTube, which you must be already on, or else you wouldn't be listening to it, and Lou's Reviews, and it'll be under the 12 Monkeys playlist, along with our Babylon 5 podcast, Stephen King podcast, Writers podcast, and our JKL Media podcast, where we do one-offs of specific series or books or music that we all or love and want to share with everybody else. So with that, we're shutting down the Splinter for a little while, and we'll be back in a future episode to talk all about all this cool stuff again.
Or is it a past episode?
Or could be, yes.
Yes.
Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And scene.
Good. That was fun.